Noam is a leading researcher on comparative political behavior and democratic representation, and his work has been published in all of the leading journals and outlets of political science. Noam's talk today is on the topic of poll workers and the effects of political participation, which is a working paper that analyzes a unique natural experiment in Peru.
When people, empiricists, write about political participation, they more or less divide it into two categories. The first kind of participation is what people have come to call deliberative participation. There's a great book on the effects of jury service, for instance, and there's some work on participatory budgeting and those kinds of things. So these are forms of participation where there's some interaction between individuals, and they are tasked with arriving at some sort of decision. Right, it might be non-binding in some participatory budgeting settings, or it might be binding, of course, in sort of jury service. They, arrive at some sort of verdict. The alternative to that in the literature on participation is that forms of participation that are considered expressive. So voting is considered expressive, campaigning, donating to a campaign, right? Sort of an individual behavior doesn't involve interacting with other people. And the goal is to express your political preferences or your political attitudes. Or maybe to do that in an effort to persuade other people, but you're expressing sort of your own preferences there.
Right. You're finding that being a poll worker had several positive effects on people's democratic attitudes and behaviors. Made us wonder what other types of supportive political participation, such as the ones that you mentioned, might be important to research that you think haven't been studied enough yet.
When I think very expansively about what it means to participate in democratic politics, I would say that everyone who works in the state bureaucracy is participating. Now, they're getting paid and it's a job, and right, but they are also constantly interacting with political institutions and with the state and with democratic processes. And how can that not shape the way that they think about democracy and our political institutions? And of course, right, it's going to be self-selected, and we're going to have all the sort of issues of studying that. But that seems, that's sort of secondary, right? Conceptually, it seems to me that there's a whole class of ways that people participate in our political institutions that we just haven't paid much attention to because I think for understandable reasons, so much of the focus is on voting, including in the definitions of democracy, the conceptions of democracy that Amir mentioned, right? When they say participation is central to democracy, they're usually talking about voting, right? Or at least, that's how they measure it. So, there's lots of ways that we've lots of things that we've overlooked.